everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about a graphic novel that I just finished called Mooncakes, and I received an ARC for this via NetGalley. I keep wanting to say Netflix for some reason, but I received an ARC through NetGalley. But this one will be widely available from October 15. When I saw this comic I was immediately drawn to it because it looked like the perfect autumn read, because like already from the cover it just looks very autumny to me, and also just the subject, the story. It is about a girl called Nova who is a witch, and one day in the forest she stumbles upon her childhood friend Tam, who is a werewolf, and yeah, together they discover something else in the forest as well, and it's something sinister, and they have to deal with that kind of. I don't really want to say too much more about it because that'll give away the story, but yeah, the overall, like, the main plot line is pretty much like a standard fantasy story where there's like some sort of mystery and then like a problem that needs solving, and at the end you have kind of like a big fight where everyone teams up. So that's a pretty like standard plot, but there are like some elements that make it a bit more interesting. There is, for example, like different magic which the witches use and the werewolves apparently. So that was an interesting concept. I don't think I've read a book before that had werewolves that could also use magic, so that was interesting. But we didn't really get to see too much of that, so I would have liked to see a bit more of like how that magic actually worked. And in general I just would have liked to see a little bit more world building, because there were definitely like certain mentions of like super interesting things at some point. Two characters like go through this ritual which kind of allows them to enter each other's mind, and I always find that super fascinating, but it lasted very short, and I just think like more could have been done with that, but it was still like interesting. And also one of my favorite things was at the beginning, Nova works in her grandma's bookshop, and like that bookshop is just like a regular bookshop, but it also has a section with witchy books, and it's not accessible to everyone but only to witches. And I thought that was really interesting, but that was only like something that came up at the beginning of the story, but it wasn't really talked about anymore. But I don't know, we just got like glimpses of like a bigger world of like witches. There's also sometimes like other witches would be mentioned, but we didn't really get to see many of them, and I think I would have just liked to see more of this world, I think. But yeah, when it came to like the supernatural element of the story, was more focused on the action, like the chasing and getting rid of the problem, all that. And I don't know, I just tend to really love world building, so I would have liked to see a little bit more of that. But in general, like a lot of the time the story doesn't actually focus so much on the supernatural plot. It has to do a lot with the characters, and that was my favourite aspect of the story. I just preferred seeing the main characters interact with each other. My favourite relationship was between Nova and her grandmothers, because like they just had such a loving and supporting relationship, and I thought that was really nice to see. And also Nova has a really good friend, Tachana, and I love seeing them interact with each other, and it was just really nice how everyone just interacted in a group, like everyone got along, and that was just really nice, because so often in YA books, if there is even like a character that has a good friend, then often that good friend will kind of like have this rivalry going on with like the love interest, and I just find that so annoying. Like I don't really want all that high school drama, but it was just really nice seeing everyone get along. And also there are several queer relationships in this book which I really liked seeing. Like it's not the main focus of the story, but it's definitely very present, and I really like that, because I mean I don't need like all my queer books to be like solely about like queer issues, but I don't really like it when authors write a book and like in an interview they'll say like, oh yeah, this character is bisexual, but when you read the book it's not that obvious, and it's very easy to kind of pretend that there are no queer characters. I hate that. But yeah, here it wasn't the focus of the story, but it was definitely very present, and I think it was done very well. In general, it's just a very diverse book because, yeah, as I mentioned, our two queer relationships. There's one character that is non-binary, there's a character that's either deaf or hard of hearing, I'm not sure which, and then oh yeah, also the characters, like most of the main characters are Chinese American, and like most of these like elements kind of do play into the story. Like they don't really have like huge role, most of them, but they are mentioned, or like at some point they come up, which I really liked seeing. But yeah, I was definitely more like interested in just like the characters interacting with each other than the supernatural plot kind of. I also think like that the humor wasn't really for me. It was, I don't know, it reminds me very much of the kind of humour that you see in cartoons, that it's very like explicit. And I know not all cartoons are like that, but that's just kind of my general impression. And I personally just prefer more like subtle humour, so I do think that if you really enjoy cartoons that you probably would like this a lot more than I did. I mean, it was still really enjoyable, but it just didn't like blow me away. I did love the artwork. I thought it was really, really cute. It definitely like got me into this autumn mood because like the colours, they are like orangey and brownish and all of that, but you also see it reflected in actual illustrations. Like the colours of the leaves are like brownish, so it's definitely clearly autumn when the story is set. And also at some point they are hanging up Halloween decorations, and it's not really like Halloween isn't really mentioned in the story, but it does really give you an autumn vibe. And yeah, I really enjoyed that, and yeah, the artwork was just really cute. My favourite thing was just like how the characters were drawn, because they all had like very clearly their own style. It was very easy to keep them apart, because sometimes I struggle a bit with that in comics, but everyone here had just such like, it was really nice seeing everyone's own unique style. I loved it. In general, I thought this was a fun, cute autumn read. I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. Yeah, I think it was like fun and cute, as I said, but the supernatural plot I would have liked to see like worked out a bit more world building. But if you prefer like more action driven plots, then maybe you enjoy the supernatural element of it a bit more. And also, as I mentioned, like the humour wasn't really my kind of humour, but if you like cartoons more, then you might enjoy this one a little bit more, because a lot of people have rated this like 4 or 5 stars on Goodreads, I saw, so I can definitely see why other people like love it so much. For me, it was like a really enjoyable read. It just didn't like blow my mind. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this comic, and maybe I'll see you next time. Bye!